A feckless man, an irresponsible individual who had run up debts and sold his own apartment, was now forced to live in a rented place. He was a pathological liar and a glutton, nicknamed Snake Oil back in school. That, precisely, was how the scientist Satan, also known by the nickname Sat, described his former classmate Erikel, whom their friends simply called Gon. Sati's supervisor, the professor, was delighted with Sati's choice of candidate and instructed him to invite the man for a meeting the following morning. Meanwhile, the unsuspecting Gon was enjoying some intimate time with a beautiful girl who reminded him of his promise to take her to the park and buy her ice cream. At that moment, Gon's landlady, Margarita, rang the doorbell. She hadn't been able to collect rent from him in several months. Switching instantly into the role of a loving fiancé, Gon ushered her into the living room, allowing his casual date to slip out unnoticed. Once they were alone, Margarita informed him that if he didn't pay the rent within a week, he would need to vacate the apartment. Gon reassured her that he would pay soon, claiming he planned to marry the daughter of a famous and wealthy man. Later, Gon and his supposed fiancée, Milena, were enjoying a night out at a restaurant, unaware that his creditor, Rasmi, was watching them. Gon excused himself to go to the restroom, where he was ambushed by Rasmi's men and pressured to repay his debt. Gon promised to return the money as soon as he married the daughter of the well-known entrepreneur, Shahen. Satisfied for the moment, they let him go. Gon immediately called his assistant to inform him that some prospective buyers were coming that day to look at his karaoke cafe, which he hoped to sell for a good sum. To make the place look popular and profitable, he had hired performers to pose as enthusiastic patrons. Soon after, Gon arrived at the karaoke bar and explained the assignment to the hired extras, urging them to create the impression of a lively, successful establishment. Eventually, the potential buyer arrived, fully aware of Gon's financial troubles. Despite Gon's efforts to fool him, one of the extras accidentally revealed the truth. The buyer promptly left. Not long afterward, Gon was taken to a secret laboratory where Sat explained, under the professor's guidance, they had created a unique female robot, one completely indistinguishable from a real human. To launch the final stage of her humanization, the android, named Rosali, needed to experience the full spectrum of human emotions. Gon was asked to live with her for 1 month as part of a test. Sat introduced Gon to the android, and the professor promised that after her final upgrade, Rosali would be more beautiful than any real woman. In addition to this, Gon would receive a substantial payment for his participation in the experiment. Gon, however, refused the offer, saying he disliked robots and, besides, was getting married in a month. The professor asked Sat to find a new test subject, but Sat insisted that Gon, who attracted trouble and chaos like a magnet, was ideal for producing the hormonal stimuli they needed. He believed Gon would return. Meanwhile, Gon met Milena's father, Shahen, who divided people into predators and herbivores. Gon joked that he might be some kind of hybrid, but Shahen declared he was a rabbit, always wriggling out of trouble. Though Shaheen had difficulty accepting his daughter's choice, Milena insisted she was in love. Shaheen warned Gon to pay for the wedding dress and be a loyal husband, or face severe consequences. Shortly afterward, Gon called Sat and agreed to the experiment on one condition: Rosalie's appearance had to match his preferences. After describing his ideal woman, Gon stepped into an elevator, where a curious neighbor overheard him. Evasive, Gon compared Rosalie to a car. The neighbor advised him to go electric. Later, at the karaoke bar, Gon signed a non-disclosure agreement with SAT. Sat revealed that investors from Pakistan were already interested in Rosalie, whose market value was in the millions. Gon immediately suggested they sell her themselves. At that moment, a young woman entered. Assuming she was the custom-built Rosalie, Gon rushed to present her with flowers, only to realize she didn't match his specifications. He criticized her chest and backside. The woman responded by punching him in the groin. Sat apologized to the woman and explained Gon had made a mistake. Then, the real Rosalie appeared. Gon introduced himself with an impromptu dance, impressing everyone. The professor, watching via surveillance, was surprised by Snake Oil's unexpected grace. That evening, Gon brought Rosalie home. She tidied up immediately and cooked him a delicious meal. Attempting to test her womanly attributes, Gon was disappointed to find she hadn't been programmed for intimate relations. Offended, he called Sat, who admitted that Rosalie's intimacy functions hadn't been activated, because the man must genuinely perceive her as human before she could evolve further. Sat instructed Gon to court her like a real woman. Gon tried to charm Rosalie, but she was already lying down and powered off. The next morning, Gon headed to the bridal salon to help Melina select her dress, but Razmi intercepted him outside, still demanding payment. Struck momentarily by Melina's beauty, Razmi offered to help design her look. Meanwhile, Rosali was in the elevator with Margarita and Gon's neighbor. At the salon, Razmi admired Melina while Margarita called Gon, furious that he had sublet his apartment. Realizing who she meant, Gon asked Razmi to return some of the money to appease her. Wanting to avoid trouble in front of Melina, Razmi handed over a small amount. Gon rushed home, persuaded Margarita to be patient, and introduced Rosali as his fiancée, stunning Margarita with the revelation that he'd managed to land such a beauty. Just then, Sat called Gon and asked him to take Rosali out so the lab could observe her interactions in public. Meanwhile, Melina sent Gon an enthusiastic message about her admiration for designer Razmi and asked her fiancé to transfer money for her dress. When Gon saw Rosali arriving via elevator, he was initially annoyed, until she explained she'd gone grocery shopping and presented him with a card given to her by the lab. Delighted, Gon bought her a bouquet of flowers, explaining that men do this to show affection. Rosali inhaled the flower scent and suddenly said her vestibular microchip was spinning. The lab picked up on this as the first sign of synthetic dopamine, triggered by the flowers, albeit bought with her own card. Gon took Rosali to his karaoke bar, introduced her as his fiancée to a friend and his girlfriend, and tried to impress them. When the girlfriend mentioned her love for Japanese poetry, Rosali began to recite verses in Japanese. Gon claimed she had studied in Tokyo. Skeptical, the friend bluntly asked how a woman like her could fall for someone like Gon, a cheat, a debtor, and a snorer. Maybe her family was planning to devour him. They left, unimpressed, but Gon and Rosali remained happily engrossed in each other. Razmi then appeared, shocked to see Gon seemingly cheating on Melina. Gon claimed Rosali was just a singer. Razmi didn't believe him, so Rosali performed a stunning love song. As Razmi interrogated Gon about his relationship with Melina, claiming he wanted to help decorate the wedding hall, Gon was too mesmerized to respond. Later, Gon and Rosali strolled through the city. She laughed at his jokes and enjoyed the simplest things. At home, over a Japanese dinner, she asked why he lied so much. Gon explained that humans used lies to cope with life. Rosali, rooted in logic, didn't understand, believing the world was governed by mathematics, where lies had no place. To illustrate his point, Gon talked about flipping cars for profit. But Rosali quickly spotted every inconsistency, showing that everything was calculable. He scrambled to confuse her with a barrage of false motives. Disturbed, Rosali realized that in the human world, she could be deceived at any moment. She begged him to teach her how to spot lies. Soon after, the professor discovered Rosali had downloaded books on poker and bluffing. Thrilled by this development, he believed it could accelerate her hormone synthesis. Gon began teaching her card games, and soon she started winning. When he found out she had a 98% chance of success, he suggested she change clothes. The researchers noticed she was searching for directions to a casino, and worried she might develop a gambling addiction and pawn off the lab. They decided to activate her intimate function. Rosali summoned Gon to the bedroom, and hours passed in passion. Neighbors overheard the commotion. Later, Gon emerged and called Sat, begging him to tone down the robot's enthusiasm. Once adjusted, Rosali remembered their plans. They visited the casino, where she won effortlessly, attracting admiration and envy. On the way home, Gon admitted it was the first time in his life people envied him for being with such a beautiful woman. He kissed her. Back at the apartment, Shaheen was waiting. He'd heard his future son-in-law had been seen at the casino with another woman. Gon lied, saying Rosali was his sister from America. Rosali switched to English immediately, fooling Shahan. Once alone, Gon confessed to Rosali that he planned to marry someone else. She became quiet, then angry. She said she wanted to hit him. The scientist realized she was producing jealousy hormones. Despite her intimate function being deactivated again, she led Gon to the bedroom, truly becoming a woman. Soon after, Gon found Razmi and his bodyguard waiting. They'd heard about his winnings and had come for their share. Razmi also demanded Gon be honest with Melina. The next day, Shahen saw Razmi and Melina together and noticed the new fiancé's business savvy. Meanwhile, Gon brought breakfast to Rosali. Shahen called, asking to meet Rosali again. He confessed he liked Gon's sister and wanted a formal introduction. Terrified, Gon decided to send Rosali back to the lab, but she refused, promising to handle the situation. That evening, they met at a restaurant. While Rosali and Shaheen discussed wine, Gon spotted Melina and Razmi at another table and joined them. Rosali reminded Shaheen of his late wife. She told him not to seek the most beautiful woman, but the one with the kindest soul. During this, Rosali humiliated Gon by implying he was unfaithful. Gon left to rejoin Rosali, who admitted she had told Shahin the truth. Back home, Shahin reflected on his late wife when Melina arrived and admitted she had fallen for someone else. In the lab, the scientists observed Rosali producing melatonin and falling asleep naturally. The professor declared the experiment complete and ordered her return. The next morning, Gon paid off his debts and parted with Melina on good terms. Shahin visited the karaoke bar and told Gon there would be no wedding. Unexpectedly, he met a singer there and instantly fell in love. Meanwhile, Gon bought flowers and rushed home, only to find Rosali gone. He called the lab. Sat explained they had taken her back. Gon begged for one last meeting and asked her to come in a white dress. They met in the garden. Gon asked her to run away with him. She refused, saying she could never be truly human or bear his child. Tears suddenly rolled down her cheeks. Gon said nothing could be more real than that. She then shut down. It turned out Sat had secretly sold her. Her buyers arrived. Gon tried to protect her. Rosali appeared, announcing Gon's marriage to Melina. A fight broke out. Rosali reactivated and joined the battle. Sat pulled a gun on Gon. Rosali shielded him, taking the bullets. At that moment, the police arrived and arrested everyone. Time passed. Sat was imprisoned. Shahin dated the singer. Melina chose a wedding dress with Rosali. The scientists activated a new robot. Meanwhile, Gon took Rosali, now pregnant, to the hospital. On the way, he called the professor, insisting on a name for their baby. The paramedics, stunned, finally realized the mother was an android. A light-hearted comedy that offered a sweet escape from daily worries. Because if a rational robot could fall in love with a man, then surely even a desperate liar and scoundrel could become a hero. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next movie breakdown. Want more? Check out our recap of similar movie right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.